What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So before I get into what's actually happening and why farmers are warning the American consumers, I first want to tell you a story. Now recently I was just at a little bit of a kind of farmer's market, and there wasn't a whole lot. No, talking to some of these farmers, they didn't have a whole lot because they didn't plant much this past year. And they didn't plant much because we had excess heat, we had fertilizer costs that were just going through the roof, right? There was a lot of issues. And I didn't think much of this, but it's really a huge deal, because it's not just that one farmer at the farmer's market. It's the grocery stores. It's grocery stores like Walmart and Costco, right? Safeway, right? It could be Whole Foods. It doesn't matter. Every single grocery store is going to have shortages coming up. Now, when I first heard about what was going on and why farmers were warning consumers, honestly, I didn't believe it. I didn't think it was true. But as always, I did my research. And here's what I kept hearing. This is what I kept seeing. I kept hearing farmers were warning consumers of limited stock. Right? They said that the drought has caused them to abandon some of their crops to ensure that they're not just throwing money into an endless pit. I also heard from a handful of farmers here in the community as well that stated that when fertilizer prices went up so high, it was a quick transition for them because they didn't have the time or the luxury to continue to buy fertilizer. They had to use either less fertilizer on the same amount of land, or they used the same amount of fertilizer on half the land. Because again, prices went up. They didn't account for this, and so they didn't price in when they're selling their crops. Some farmers even warned that local restrictions have made it so difficult that they're better off just selling their land. And that takes me to one ex-farmer who actually got a chance to communicate with. He said that a developer came to him and his family months ago offering an insane amount of money for their farm. Guess what? He took it. He took that offer, and to this day, and again, this happened months ago, to this day, there's been nothing done to that land. Nothing. It's for a development. That's it. Now, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Do you think it's right that the U.S. government is able to send billions and billions of dollars overseas without the consent of the U.S. taxpayers? Because again, it's our money. Yet they can't provide a little more assistance or credits to farmers to ensure that our food supply is not in jeopardy. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, because I've heard from many people, and a lot of them say the exact same thing. Is why do we keep sending money to, Ukraine or over to Europe somewhere? Why do we continue to do this yet we're suffering here at home? Again, let me know your thoughts. Now, I bring up a lot of these things because I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that there's still talks from government officials about paying farmers to simply quit, right? Stop farming, and to plant cover crops. Now, the purpose, and I've addressed this multiple times in the past, but the purpose behind cover crops is to pull CO2 from the air, put it back into the soil, right? And pretty much just to reduce the farm's carbon footprint. But they will also make the soil, again, much healthier, which in the long run would be great, and it would ensure that our crops are more resilient to the changing climate. And this just has to do with climate change. Again, this is the big news coming out of the Biden administration, is we have to fix climate change. We need an answer. Now, is this the answer? Maybe, maybe not. But this is one of the things that is still up for discussions. Before, and this was in, I believe, late 2020, early 2021, the Biden administration was considering paying farmers to just plant cover crops. Things like radishes and I think like hay and alfalfa and stuff like that, which would be great for certain farmers, but others are really going to feel the impacts. And I can tell you right now, at the grocery store, there'd be a lot of stuff that we would not be able to get anymore, simply because no one's growing it. But here's something else that I thought was crazy, and is that the majority of farmland in the United States, it's not owned by small individual farmers anymore. They're actually owned by billionaires. And these are these billionaire owners include people like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. There's Ted Turner and John Malone, Stan Kroenke, right? Even Thomas Petterfee. These are all billionaires that own farmland. Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, right? Stan Kroenke, one of the owners of I believe the LA Rams. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, right? Why are they interested in farmland? Well, that's what's crazy, because this is starting to become a new investment style. And according to recent reports from the U.S. Agriculture Department, 80% of rented farmland is owned by investors who don't do any of the farming themselves. So that's pretty scary, that all you have is an investor throwing money at something. Now again, I think this is a great investment, but experts do anticipate that this number is only going to increase as more and more investors see the value behind farmland. And this is one of the reasons why I bring this up, is because I've been talking about just being prepared, growing your own food, planting your own garden, making sure you can purify water if you need to, if you know what hits the fan. You need to make sure you're prepared. And now I want to give you some insights from farmers here in their community, because I've asked multiple community members a while back what they were seeing, especially this year, from their gardens, and this is what some had to say. One person said, and I quote, "This year has been more trouble than anything else. The heat has killed all of my celery and tomatoes. We have seen more rodents and insects eating our crops this year as well. My hope was to avoid the sky-high prices at grocery stores, but that is no longer an option for my family and myself." Another person said, and I quote, "Is it just me? Is it just around me, or has fertilizer gotten so expensive that it doesn't make growing a garden any more cost-effective than going to the grocery store?" And for most people, the cost of fertilizer earlier this year just killed your margins, so really it didn't make it more cost-effective. And one community member had this to say, and I quote, "I started growing an indoor garden like your friends at Riverside Homestead Life recommended. It was going really well until I saw my electric bill, and my husband and I decided to turn down our AC. We went from 75 degrees in our house to 80 degrees like my HVAC guy recommended. Well, it didn't take long before my gardening room got too hot. While we were out of town, everything wilted and died." That's a horrible story. But these are just three of the stories. These are just three of the statements people made. Gardening is becoming more difficult because of the cost, because of the heat, because of water, right? Everything is just making it more difficult. But at the same time, if you do it right, you know what you're doing, you can make some great choices. You can save a lot of money. And it's a great thing to do. And again, the people said they started growing an indoor garden like my friends over at Riverside Homestead Life recommended. And again, go and listen to some of their videos. Go and watch some. Just last week he did one on fishing and stuff like that. And so it's great. It's great to go and do some of these things. And again, I highly recommend it, because right now, and again, it's not just now, it's over the past 6 months, even the past year, farmers have been warning consumers that their crops are starting to suffer. There may be a time where it just makes more sense for them to get out of farming, sell their land to a developer, and just take that money and run. And so if this happens, and we go from farmland to developments, problem there is, housing's going to come down. That's not necessarily a problem, but that means we're going to be more reliant on other countries and other states as well to produce the crops that we need. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now. Honestly, it's been happening for a while. It's not going to change. Nothing seems to be getting any better. It's just progressive getting worse. So just keep that in mind as you move forward. What can you do to ensure that you and your family have the food and resources that you need? So again, that's what we know at this time. As always, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all latest news and updates. Again, Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.